about because my agent, Kristen Nelson, sent me an email one Wednesday afternoon. And the email was, hey, wanted to let all my authors know that young adult fiction, books for teens and preteens, is doing really well. I'm getting a lot of editors asking if I have any authors that are doing this. And, why don't you think about it, because you're really immature. You would do well for this. And I said, absolutely, I'm really immature. I have embraced that and made it my own. And so I said, sure, I've got lots of really great ideas. Which, the other thing you really need to know is when you are a professional author, you basically get paid to tell lies for a living. And so that, of course, was a lie. And I didn't really have any good YA ideas, but I immediately started trying to think of some. So I spent the next couple of hours at my desk at my day job, going through things and thought, okay, this is a pretty good little list. So I wrote it up and typed it up and sent it off to her via email. And before I left work that day, she sent me back the email that would change my life. And it was very simple, and it was just, these are all terrible. And so I think that that's the moral of the story right there, guys, is that you need to always have somebody in your life who's willing to tell you the truth, whether it's what you want to hear or not. Because if it hadn't been for that, then I can pretty much guarantee you that the Gallagher Girls would not be here today, and I would not be here today. I went home that night and I started trying to think of better ideas, bigger ideas, what they call in Hollywood, high concept ideas. And I popped a big bowl of popcorn in my big orange bowl, and I sat down in front of the TV, and I had the TV show Alias on. You guys remember Alias with Sidney Bristow and Jennifer Garner, who's a college student by day and a spy by night. And it's a great TV show. And so I'm watching that, and the sound is actually on mute. And so I kind of glance up, just half watching it. And it's a flashback of when Sidney's sister was an orphanage in Argentina. And I didn't know that at the time. I just saw these little girls who would eventually grow up to become spies running around this big abandoned building in the middle of the night. And the first thought that came to my mind was, oh my gosh, I bet she went to a boarding school for spies. And so I turned up the volume, and sure enough, that wasn't what it was. But by that point, guys, what had already taken root in the back of my mind?
Started writing it.
A boarding school for spies. And how incredibly cool it would be to go to that kind of school. I thought, I wish I had gone to that school. And so I knew that even though I couldn't go to that school, my imagination could, and all I had to do was write about it. And so when I start a book, I always usually start with a character and then ask the question, what's the worst that can happen? And how can you mess up this person's life in the most interesting way possible? And so because let's face it, all books are about characters who get their lives messed up, right? Because if a book about somebody who wakes up and everything that day goes exactly according to plan, that is my life. That's not something that I read for any kind of entertainment. So I started saying, what can I possibly do to mess up her life? And I thought, okay, boys obviously are what mess up her life, right, ladies? And so I said, okay, but she goes to this boarding school for spies. How is she going to meet a boy? Well, she's going to meet one on this mission in town. He could never know the truth about her. And so another thing that played into this all this time was we all know how when you've got a crush on somebody, you're a little bit like a spy yourself. I mean, you want to know, does he like me? You want to know, is he telling his friends anything about me? He got a text today during math class. I bet that text was about me. I mean, you're kind of thinking all these things, and you're wanting to know, where is he right now? And if I drove by his house, would he recognize my mom's car? And, these things are going through your mind. And so I thought, well, these are girls who are spies. So all people with crushes are spies, but these girls have the training to back it up. And so that's how I tell you I love you, but then I have to kill you came to be. For Cross My Heart and Hope to Spy, it was just taking that one step further. And I thought, okay, well, what if the boy you're spying on is a spy too? And so now, because that actually was like an epiphany for me in the writing process, because I was really struggling with that book. I mean, that was my nervous breakdown book. I had made no qualms, and I've never hidden that back. I mean, that's the book where you gain 40 pounds, and you end up in the fetal position of your desk because you just don't know what's supposed to come next. So yeah, that was that book. And when I was finally kind of making some progress with that, my good friend Jennifer Lynn Barnes, who writes also a great series of spy books called The Squad, about these girls who are like cheerleaders by day and secret agents by night. So if you haven't read the Squad books, I highly recommend them. And so Jennifer and I have this tradition that we always go see spy movies together. When there's a new espionage movie out, we go. And so there was a new spy movie, and we went to see that. And I remember sitting there in that theater, and because the movie wasn't about spies versus regular people, like Love You Kill You was. And I realized that real covert operations is always spies versus spies. And I made a note to myself, I probably still have that piece of paper somewhere, and I said, it's not cat versus mouse, it's cat versus cat. And those of you who have read Cross My Heart and Hope to Spy multiple times know that that line is actually in the book somewhere. You're like, yes, it's on page 142. And so it was, that was a big epiphany. So that's when the character of Zach really kind of started to come into focus. And I'm like, okay, so he's like Cammy. That's what makes this one interesting and different. And then book 3, I took some time off after Cross My Heart because, again, nervous breakdown book. And so you're allowed to take a few months off. And during that time, I was thinking about what really is supposed to happen next to the Gallagher Girls and what's the logical next step. And I just knew that I had to do something based in the political process because, of course, the elections were all going on at that time, and you couldn't turn on the TV without seeing an election ad and primary coverage and stuff. And I thought, that, for someone who lives their life so totally under the radar, like the Gallagher Girls do, being thrust into that kind of national spotlight would be one of the most dangerous things that could happen. And so that's how Don't Judge a Girl by Her Cover really came to be. Which you'll notice it's lovely, red, white, and blue, very patriotic. Because, of course, in this one, for those of you who have read the first chapter, which is in the paperback of Cross My Heart and Hope to Spy, you know that in this one, Macy's dad is getting nominated for vice president. And so the Gallagher Girls are very much in the public spotlight. And I'm proud to say that before I got on a plane to come to the Bay Area, I finished the first draft of Gallagher Girls 4. So that's not getting over it. It's 3. You don't know what's work going on. I can't tell you much about it because at this point, it may be the kind of thing where my editor's like, yeah, why don't we just delete this and start from scratch? That happens sometimes. But right now, I really like where the characters are going. I really like where the world is going. And I'm very excited to hear what you guys think about 3 because things are getting ready to get interesting. And so I'm very excited to go there with all of you. Okay, with that, let's get to questions. So I know you guys are going to ask way